This is Steve Cochran. Welcome to Live from my office. Wherever you listen, however you listen, you know I appreciate it. I do very, very much, and I would love to hear from you at thecochranshow@gmail.com. Drop me an email. Tell me your thoughts about anything. Anything. Ask me a question about anybody. I'm here to please. thecochranshow@gmail.com is a great way to stay in touch with me. We also have the show notes at the end of every episode. A lot of things to refer to in this episode in particular, so you may want to check that out. Social media links, things of that nature. And as always, we are sponsored by David Hochberg and Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID and 56david.com. We thank David for that. And I would just lastly, before we take the break, come back and I give you my thoughts on things. I just want you to make sure you've taken the time to share and download Live from my office for people who are, well, frankly, afraid of the word podcast. They don't know from downloads. They don't want to feel silly. They don't want to necessarily ask their 6-year-old grandson or maybe their own kid who knows more about computers and the internet and podcasts than they do. It's a very simple process. Sign them up, subscribe on whatever platform they listen and you listen. You'll never miss an episode. They'll never miss an episode. And dare I say, and I will, the world will be a better place. All right. So thank you for all of that. And I remind you to check out cochranshow.com where all the episodes live and we're posting things, and check there when you can as well. All right. So we'll take the break. We'll come back. And I'm going to share with you my thoughts, my experiment, if you will, on doing my own research in an effort to show you you can do it as well and stop listening to the noise and start getting the facts before it's too late. Right after this on Live from my office. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to do what I did. I called Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's always going to look out for your financial best interest. Your credit score is the number one factor that determines your interest rate. The difference between a 699 and a 740 score on a $250,000 mortgage will cost you an additional $25,000 in mortgage payments over that 30-year fixed loan. You heard me. An additional $25,000 that you'll never see. It's just gone in payments over the life of your mortgage unless you get that credit rating up. And to enhance your credit and to secure a lower rate, pay off or pay down your credit cards every Friday and get added as an authorized user on the credit card of someone with great credit. These are the tips and tricks that Hochberg knows. They're all legal. And this is the kind of time he can save you because he's doing the thinking for you. Team Hochberg helped me and my family and thousands of my podcast listeners enhance their credit to secure the lowest rate before purchasing a new home or refinancing their existing home. But they can't help if they don't have you on the other end of the phone. Pick up the phone and call or jump online. It's 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. Your part's easy. They'll do the heavy lifting. 855-563-2843 or 56david.com for Homeside Financial, an equal housing lender. NMLS number 1124061. Welcome back to Live from my office. As I mentioned, Dr. Kevin Most not with us today, not because he said no or I didn't ask. I asked him to do an awful lot, and he always steps up. I just think it's important to show you that when I tell you, get your own answers, you don't have to listen to me, you don't have to listen to my guests, even though my guests are carefully vetted. I want you to get the answers for you and not just depend on something sent to you on Facebook or some nonsense you've seen on TV or heard on the radio or even on a podcast. I will put my money behind Dr. Kevin Most and his advice 24 hours a day. But in this case, my words on COVID and on the Delta variant. And we begin this way. Look, all we do is fight, right? That's all this country does anymore is fight. I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. Seriously. How's that working out? COVID's killed over 4 million people around the world, over 600,000 Americans, and there are still people who haven't gotten the vaccine. I don't get it. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm confused, and I'm guessing you are too.
So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
here's the thing. The anger's not serving any of us. Sure, it feels good to be right if you think you are and the other person is wrong, but how does that move the ball? We need to be a little more empathetic and sympathetic because a lot of the people who are still on the fence are still on the fence for a reason. And we'll get to that in a second. Because the yelling and the screaming and the finger pointing and the blame, it's just not working out. So let me tell you what I did. I spent just a couple of days ago, maybe an hour and a half, researching the questions I wanted answers to and the ones I think you'd want answers to as well. Just Googled the questions to get the facts. And the facts in this episode come from places like Johns Hopkins Medicine, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, the Kaiser Family Foundation, and many other places. And again, I'll put them all in the show notes. And I broke the questions down to be answered in this fashion. The people that have had the vaccine, the people that are refusing to get the vaccine, the people who may be willing to get the vaccine, the facts, the science-based facts, what you might say to skeptics, and where we go from here. Because there is a possibility that we can stop this before it gets worse. But I'm here to tell you, we're running out of time.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
So let's start with the good news. And the good news is this. There's 166 million people who've been fully vaccinated in this country. That's good. It's not great, but it's good. That's over 50%. Vaccine rates, well, they've been going up, especially in the South, especially as the news on the Delta variant has gotten worse. There are folks that are less sick, not hospitalized, because they've been vaccinated. And there are people that have gotten back to their life, at least in some order, because they were vaccinated. You can still travel. Look, airline ventilation is superior. That's not, that's what you're not hearing about with all the people that are flying and the planes are flying full, that this person got sick or that person got sick, because it's not happening. Are we going to have to deal with booster shots? Yeah, maybe. But the vaccine efficacy is remarkable. And the COVID antibodies you get if you've had COVID seem to last longer than we thought. The supply of the vaccines is great. No lines. And, yep, it's free. Free's a good word. And even in the tiny percentage of people who've gotten breakthrough vaccines, hear this. Fully vaccinated people have less than 0.5% chance of getting a breakthrough vaccine. And if you were to get COVID, symptoms are way less severe, and there's almost no chance you're going to end up on a ventilator or die. I mean, that's a big deal. That is a seriously big deal. And our best guess says that we have been able to save up to 200,000 lives since the vaccines began because people have gotten the shot. 200,000 lives saved. And you may be saying, Steve, seriously?
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Shirley, Steve, whatever the case may be. Look, the important thing for you to note is there is good news out there. But that good news seems to have been lost in all of the noise that exists as well. The noise has to stop, and you have to do research like I've done so that you can get to those facts. Because frankly, it's a problem with messaging.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. 97% of those hospitalized are unvaccinated. And the important thing to hear, too, is the Delta variant is particularly vicious on 20 to 40-year-olds. Healthy 20 to 40-year-olds. Young, healthy adults. People of color, more likely to be victimized by this with long-haul symptoms and more serious disease. This is scary stuff. And you can't wait around for herd immunity. You need to create it by getting vaccinated. Otherwise, we're just up for grabs. And I don't know about you, but rolling the dice to me just doesn't seem wise.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Here's what's really important to remember. When it comes to herd immunity, if we don't get there, all the time it takes us to get from where we are now at 50% fully vaccinated to 70% fully vaccinated, that seems to be the magic number to get to herd immunity. That time that's taken is time the virus loves to develop variants, to figure out ways to beat the vaccinations.
That's what's going on now. So it's not a matter of, well, I'll get to the vaccination, I'll get to the vaccine eventually. You need to get it now. Now, you may be saying, why do I need to worry about changing people's minds? Well, besides what I've just told you, it's important to try to change people's minds before it's too late. Sadly, sometimes it is too late. And we keep seeing those stories again and again and again. There was a story just a couple of days ago about a 42-year-old fitness fanatic who was beating himself up over his decision not to get vaccinated. And then he died. 42-year-old British man, loved to exercise, ate healthy. He died of COVID-19 just in the past week. His name is John Ayres. He didn't get vaccinated because he felt he would be okay, a family member said. The father of one told doctors in his last days he deeply regretted his decision not to get a vaccine. Could he still get it? And as healthcare workers who have been traumatized by all of this as well had to tell him, I'm sorry, Mr. Ayres, it's too late. But imagine, 42, healthy, a construction expert, a bodybuilding champ from Southport, England, healthy, very active, as his twin sister stated online. And heartbreakingly, his 19-year-old daughter, his only child, said that before he was put on a ventilator, he said, I just wish I had done this. Please tell people that they need to get this. Mary Macy Curran, that's his daughter, says, please get your vaccine. I was one of the young girls who only got the vaccine to go on vacation. But now I've seen the reality of what COVID does. Standing beside a hospital bed, watching my dad, and him not knowing I was by his side absolutely kills me. And the stories go on everywhere. Washington Post and CNN reports talk about a person like Shelley Wachter, who was wary of getting vaccinated against the coronavirus because of what she described as that white noise that we're talking about again. She says, now, knowing what I do, I'd get the shot. She had knee replacement surgery, not unlike what I had earlier this year, but she actually contracted COVID-19 because she was unvaccinated. She was hospitalized, treated with supplemental oxygen. She described it as absolutely terrifying. But the news can be even worse. Her husband encouraged her to get vaccinated. One of the primary motivations for getting the shot, cited by those who initially had been hesitant, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, is when a husband or wife or a boyfriend or girlfriend said, you need to do this. An even more common reason, cited by a quarter of those who changed their minds, was seeing others get inoculated without having side effects. And as I've told you before, I had very minimal side effects, and I've had a very challenging health year. There's a guy named Quentin Bowen, a farmer from Nebraska, who told the newspaper there where he lived that he thought he had time to get vaccinated before he got sick, but he didn't. And he said having to tell his young children he was going to the hospital was the hardest thing he'd ever done. Asked for advice he'd offer those who hadn't gotten the shot. He said, trust the science. Forget the politics and social media and get vaccinated. Chris Ard from Alabama told a local television station that he got pneumonia after he got COVID. He said, it almost killed me. He said, I'd recommend everybody get vaccinated. Don't wait. When it's too late, it's too late. And I regret it deeply. And there's a conservative radio host named Phil Valentine who railed against the vaccine and was begging for it in the hospital. And his brother said if he ever gets back on the air, he's going to tell people the mistake he made and what they should do now. And there's Chris Hutton of Florida, 9 months pregnant when she got COVID. She said, I thought I was going to die. She described the ordeal of having to give birth by C-section while struggling to breathe. She hadn't gotten vaccinated because of her pregnancy, but now wishes she had. Hutton was lucky. Blake Bargatze, not so much. 24 years old, healthy, 24 years old. He ended up getting COVID and surviving. He had a double lung transplant. He said as soon as he got in the hospital, he wished he'd gotten the vaccine, but they told him the same thing they've told others all over the country. I'm sorry, but now it's too late. There's a Tennessee state rep named David Byrd. He contracted the virus last November. He's been battling COVID ever since, including 2 months on a ventilator and a liver transplant. He said, I was never really against taking COVID-19, but I understand the concerns of those who were hesitant. To them, I would say COVID is real. It's dangerous. It's a disease that wants to kill us. The stories just go on and on and on. And as I said, it's incredibly unfair to the healthcare professionals on the front line. They see the sickest patients almost universally regret not having been vaccinated. A Georgia pulmonologist named Jennifer Barbieri wrote an opinion piece for her local paper and said, hearing the concern as to whether or not they'll ever see their kids grow up is really hard. Hearing a patient tell you they wish they'd gotten the vaccine and knowing that they could have gotten it is gut-wrenching. Lawrence and Lydia Rodriguez were both admitted to the hospital with COVID just in the last month. Lydia's cousin Dottie told a local news station they just didn't believe in vaccines. But then, before she got intubated, one of the last things she told her sister was, please make sure my children get the shots. The future for the Rodriguez remains uncertain. Both remain on ventilators in ICU. Everybody else I've mentioned, relatively lucky, but not all of them. Michael Freedy, 39, died of COVID just a week ago. His fiance also didn't get the shot. She said, we just wanted to wait a year. When it came out, like it started to be available to people, she said, we just want to watch and see what people's reactions were to it. That's why we didn't do it. We didn't think a year would matter. Now she says, if you're hesitating, it's not worth it. I'm not going to be able to change anybody's mind who's directly against it, but I'm telling you, we're young. I'm young. It can happen. And Freddie's last text message to his fiancée was, I should have gotten a damn vaccine. Their 7-year-old son still sends texts to his father's phone. The first one he sent said, Dad, are you still alive? It's heartbreaking to hear, and it's completely unnecessary. But those of us who have gotten the vaccine need to feel a little less superior and a little more open to talking to those who haven't. Because there are reasons. I mean, there's folks who are out there right now who firmly believe in the nonsense that they've heard or are concerned about things that are factual, but not quite yet factual to them. Let me go through a few of those. What do you say? Well, don't lecture. The goal is to get the shots. The goal is to help. And the one way you can help is by taking a deep breath, stepping back, not trying to be right, but wanting to help.
God, help me. Help me, Rod. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you.
Now, we're not talking about folks who think 5G technology or Bill Gates is trying to hit you with a tracker and a vaccine. We're not talking to those people. Those people are part of that group that won't be talked into it. But we are talking about people who are concerned about taking time off from work, concerned about caring for their kids, concerned about school, concerned about availability of the vaccines, and haven't been able to get it done. Talk about your own life when you talk to those folks. Tell them how you drove your own mom, who's not in great health, to get the vaccine so she'd be around. None of us should be pronouncing how smart and how correct we are. Instead, we ought to be having empathy, even for those who seem immovable when you get in these conversations, to make sure they understand the facts. And the facts are these. None of the emergency authorization methods mean that steps were skipped in proving the vaccine was safe. And these vaccines have been a game changer, because the way vaccinations in the future will be approved will be completely different and much quicker. Why has there not been full FDA approval yet? There's a lot of misinformation about this out there. The FDA requires 6 months after a vaccine goes into play before it will grant full approval, and we're almost there. Fact, we know the side effects are brief, very brief. And some of you who may have gotten the vaccine maybe aren't as lucky as I am, and maybe you had some real nasty flu-like symptoms. That doesn't mean you're sick. That means that your immune system is working. There is no possible way for you to get COVID from getting the COVID vaccine. Same thing for the flu and other vaccinations, because a vaccine, by definition, never puts a live virus into your body. That's not how it works. It's there to turn your immune system on. It's impossible when there's no live virus to get sick from the vaccine. And here's the other part of this, which is really important. People think if I have an allergy, if I'm pregnant, if I'm breastfeeding, if I'm working on fertility treatments, that I can't possibly get the vaccine. Ask your doctor, because all of those things are completely untrue. See, that's part of this. You got to believe that people are going to be willing to listen, that all we want is for you to save your life and the life of someone else by participating in all of us fighting against Delta and against COVID-19.
You can't handle the truth.
Look, there are no long-term side effects from the vaccine. There's plenty from COVID. Loss of taste, loss of smell, heart issues, lung issues, brain fog, walls of fatigue, shortness of breath, chest pain. The people I know who've gone through this, I know somebody who's gone through every one of those symptoms, and in some cases still dealing with it. If you've had COVID, you should still get the vaccine. The antibody protection is good. Your protection is way better after the shots. And of course, we still have to do the right thing. We got to social distance. You got to mask up. N95 mask, KN95, KF94, those are the best. But at the bare minimum, wear a mask when you're in a crowded area of any kind. And if you can this summer, stay outside as much as possible. Don't gather inside in crowded spaces. It's common sense. You look at a state like Vermont, small population, not a lot of COVID. We're safer going to a restaurant there than you are in Florida, where people are wall to wall. Because look, the deal is, in any crowd, 50% of that crowd is not going to be vaccinated. That's it. So the more people you have around you, the more concerning it becomes. So what you need to do is use that common sense and stay away from folks that are coughing. Stay away from folks that aren't wearing masks when you can, because you can still live your life. A lot of people are concerned this is some sort of government issue, and the government of President Biden is trying to shut down business because it's somehow advantageous to Democrats. As insane as that theory is, even try to reach that with moderation and understanding and just ask them where they got that information. Because there's no legitimate news source anywhere that would back it up. And think about the fact, Democrats own businesses too. Democrats who vote don't want their businesses shut down. So why would this be an anti-Republican thing? 50% unvaccinated can pass it on to each other. But Lollapalooza in a situation like that in Chicago is much more dangerous than your local bar or restaurant where precautions are being taken. And support the fact that schools are trying to keep kids safe. What upside is there for you looking at Florida, seeing that there's a 20% infection rate with kids in that state? What's the upside in having your kid walk into that because you want to take a stand and say, my kid's freedoms are being violated? Come on. The only way we're ever going to get back to normal and stay there is to get the vaccine. So I encourage you to have patience. And by the way, I'm not known for that, but I encourage you to have patience, and I encourage you to have understanding. And I encourage you to talk to people about why you got the vaccine, why you trust that the people you love in your life would be safe in getting the vaccine. And let's try to move even one person in your life in that direction, because we're on the clock. We got to get there. That's why I don't have any problem with these vaccine incentives. Give them a car. Give them money. Yeah, it seems upside down. It seems like craziness, but why would I be upset about that? Because that's another person that's been vaccinated.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
So get the shots, because it truly is our best shot and our only shot to beat the Delta variant and the other variants that are developing while we wait for everybody else to catch up. And if you have to scream and yell, go back in your house, grab a pillow, hold it over your head, and yell into that, because the fighting is getting us nowhere. I appreciate you listening. We'll come back and wrap it up next on Live from My Office. you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance a one you're in, do what we all do. We call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Who are the we in we all? It's everybody I've worked with. It's my family. It's people who ask me for advice, and I tell them Team Hochberg is not only legit, they're the best in the business. That's not a recommendation you can get wrong, by the way. If you tell somebody, hey, you know that mortgage you're doing, the biggest financial transaction of your life? Here's somebody you ought to use. And then they turn out to be, a shyster? Oh, you don't want a shyster. Then you are going to be on their blacklist forever. I have no problem recommending Team Hochberg. I have and I will. And after hearing thousands of Team Hochberg ads, Jody called for a free consultation. She's happy she did. Team Hochberg helped Dan and Jody secure a cash-out refinance, pay off most of their credit cards, and save over $2,700 a month. That's a lot of money. So before calling, Dan and Jody were overwhelmed and stressed out. After, David Hochberg eliminated over $70,000 of debt and saved them over $30,000 a year. Team Hochberg helped me and thousands of my podcast listeners use their homes and their home's equity to eliminate debt. They helped Dan and Jody, but look, they can't help you if you don't call. And if you think, well, Steve, you didn't really talk about my issue. Anything involving the financing, the refinancing, the money in your home, well, you need to pick up the phone because Hochberg has an expert that can help, or he'll do it himself. All he wants to do is save you a little money, like Dan and Jody. Can't help you if you don't call. 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com, 855-563-2843, or 56david.com for Homeside Financial, an equal housing lender, NMLS number 1124061. Before we go, an appropriate charitable cause worth mentioning is Partners in Health, PIH.org. Partners in Health. The coronavirus continues to spread around the world, and the poorest people are most victimized most often. You can help by going to PIH.org and see the great work they're doing around the world to help those who are most horribly affected by this. Help in any way you can. PIH.org. Thank you, Ross Cochran, for putting all this together. Thank you for listening. Please do your own research and try to convince just one person to get the shot who hasn't gotten it yet. Do it with love. It's not easy, but if I can do it, you can do it too. See you next time on Live from my office.
Thank you for listening to Live from my office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Support the show by subscribing wherever you're listening and by telling your friends about it. Follow Steve on all social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And make sure you check out this episode's show notes for relevant information discussed during the conversations. You can also email the show directly at thecochranshow@gmail.com with any questions or comments. And that's the best place to tell us about your favorite nonprofit so we can make sure we mention them on the next episode. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event. And occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.